And while we're talking about movies and movie news, it's time to talk about some movies and movie news.
What?
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 All right, you guys, let's I feel like today's show is a little bit fly by the seat of your pants. If you're watching at home, I apologize for that. Today's just a weird day, right? I think we can all admit today is a weird day in the world. Why? Well, this is why. Pixar's Soul, the movie Soul. If you've been watching the show at all, you would know that this is one of the movies that I am just so ridiculously excited to see. Previously, I think I had Soul listed as my fourth most anticipated film coming out this year. It was right behind, I think it went Black Widow, then Wonder Woman, then James Bond, No Time to Die, and then it was Soul. But guess what? All the other movies, with the exception of Wonder Woman, have been pushed back to 2021. Even still, I think I would go ahead and re-rank these. Even if those movies were still coming out this year, I still think I would re-rank this as my third most anticipated film of the year. I'm just so looking forward to this. The music looks brilliant. If you're not familiar with the story of Soul, it tracks the story of this man in New York. I think it's in New York. He's an aspiring musician, a jazz musician. He gets an audition. He gets a callback. I'm not sure if it's just a callback or if he's getting hired for the gig. I think he's getting hired for the gig. And then he falls down a manhole and presumably dies. And now we follow his soul on an adventure through not just the afterlife, but also the pre-life, which is a really interesting take. I know not a lot of religious ideology or theology involves the concept or the idea of a pre-existence, and I think the movie, being that the movie is going to explore this idea of a pre-existence, is so cool. It's kind of an original idea that we haven't really seen in film and in storytelling. And to help this originality, there are three mainstream musicians who are helping to bring this movie to life from a musical aspect. One would be Jon Batiste. If you're not familiar with Jon Batiste's work, he is I guess you could call him the co-host of, was it The Late Show with Stephen Colbert? He's the musical director on Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He's a jazz musician from New Orleans. Maybe this movie takes place in New Orleans. Maybe I got it wrong with New York. I don't know. Us New Yorkers, we like to think that everything revolves around New York, right? But anyway, so Jon Batiste is doing the music, like all the jazz music for the character in the movie. And like he's a brilliant jazz musician. So I'm really looking forward to that. But in addition, we also have Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who, if you're not familiar with their work, Trent Reznor, first and foremost, is the guy from Nine Inch Nails. He is Nine Inch Nails, the very popular kind of hard, kind of not necessarily indie music, but alternative music, but like a really, really hard alternative music from the 90s. And so, yeah, he is teamed up with Atticus Ross and, film composer, and the two of them have worked on multiple films and television shows together. They worked on Gone Girl. They won awards for The Social Network, the movie The Social Network. They most recently won an Emmy for scoring Watchmen, the Watchmen show on HBO Max. And I like this. I could not be more excited for this music to come out. And as this article points out, Disney's going to be releasing not just one soundtrack, but two. It sounds like, yes, the score from Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, but as well, the jazz music being written by Jon Batiste. I am over the moon. Josh, I am completely over the moon for this. I think this is such a cool idea, musically, but also it shows that there's going to be enough music in this movie that we're going to be able to get two soundtracks, completely two different download albums, essentially. Or if you're not a downloader, you can actually pardon me, excuse me, you can actually go out and buy the albums themselves. Josh, I know you may not be as much of a movie score person as I am, but I know you're very much into movie scores as well. What's your take on this? And first of all, how excited are you to see the movie Soul?
I think Pixar is, even if it's one esteemed over time. Like I feel like Cars was a great movie, but I feel like people are kind of like, okay, Cars, whatever. But it's still great, and so Pixar always they just always have a good quality product, and they really do deliver. Whether you love it or not, it's you can always say this is good quality, I think. Having said that, yeah, this looks great. I think it's a really cool idea. I think they're going into like a really cool concept. Kind of was Coco Pixar, or was that just Disney? I believe that was
just
Disney, right?
Yeah.
Just Disney, right? So this idea of sort of like kind of the supernatural / pre-life, pre-existent stuff is kind of cool that they're going in that direction, and I think it's a really cool thing. And I think with the jazz aspect of it, the music and the setting, it would make sense if it was, but definitely would make sense if it was, New Orleans, because it could be so many things, like a physical
double
soul,
entendre, yeah.
Soul music, the soul of, there's a lot, like I feel like soul and New Orleans seem to sort of like go hand in hand. Those two words would connect definitely. So I think it's going to be great, and I love the idea of 2 soundtracks. I think that's a really innovative, fun, cool thing. Choose your own soundtrack, and I mean, I think the only danger there is the gimmick stronger than the product, and if it's more just for the gimmick, and the product doesn't, it's going to fall a little flat. But if obviously you have 2 great talents. I think as long as the gimmick isn't the only thing that's pulling that through.
No, I think they're going to be doing a pretty good job in this regard, in keeping it less gimmicky and more about like the art and specifically the music. I think I think this is a great idea, and it's something that we haven't really seen for a long time, which is 2 soundtracks for one movie. I remember in the mid '90s growing up, Mission Impossible. The very first Mission Impossible movie had 2 different soundtracks. There was the score, and then there was music that was inspired by the movie, which, like, kind of blows your mind, because pretty much every song, not every song, but, most of the songs that were on that album were not in the movie. It was just, hey, let's create a compilation of music, and we'll slap the Mission Impossible logo on it, and we'll ship it out, and we'll get more money for it, right?
Right.
In more recent times, Guardians of the Galaxy very famously has the score to the film, and then, the soundtrack of all, like, the pop songs that they used throughout the film. Yeah, I think, like, anytime you're able to do something like that, kind of break it up, me being me, I love my film scores, and it's so frustrating to me when you get, like, a film score track, a film score track, a pop song track, a film score track, a pop song track. Like, when you mix all that stuff in together, it just gets messy, and, like, you just want to listen to it all the way through without having that jimble jamble back and forth a little bit.
Oh, totally. And I think that's the whole thing. Like with soundtracks, like if you're listening to the score, you're probably wanting to listen to the score. If you're listening to the soundtrack, if you're listening to the music soundtrack, you're probably wanting to listen to the soundtrack. Like there's a difference between the Guardians of the Galaxy score and the soundtrack, like you said. And obviously, if you're like at a party or something and you're playing the soundtrack, and then all of a sudden this like beautiful score for this moment comes up, it's like, you're right. So it's just like, here's the score, here's the soundtrack. Let's split those up. Do we know, is this project going to be is it going to be score soundtrack? Is it going to be soundtrack? Or is it going to be, I mean, that's kind of a weird delineation, because both could be either, but are they going to play one in one theater, one in another, or is it all going to just be released as one, and then you can hear the other score?
I'm confused by what it is that you're asking.
So is say the Trent Reznor version going to be released in one theater and the John Baptiste version in another theater?
Oh, okay. No. It's all going to be one. So John Baptiste. Let me back up. So the movie is about this one guy who's a jazz musician, and whenever he's playing that jazz music, that's the music that John Baptiste is writing. But then like the score to kind of fill out the emotional level and kind of like musically what is happening, that's all Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Okay, because for some reason I was picturing that like they were commissioning two different soundtracks, like John Baptiste, you write one, Trent Reznor, you write one, and now you can sort of almost like interchange them at certain moments, and like here's the score for this version, and here's the score on this version.
That would be extremely experimental, and I could see Disney doing something like that, but not with this property.
Well, that's what I meant with like the whole like gimmicky thing. I was thinking it's kind of a gimmick if they do this, but if it works, it works.
So like what you're
like they did.
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead. No. After you.
Yeah. No.
Well, all I was saying was I know they did it with the movie with Clue when they released it in 1985. It's one of my favorite movies of all time. And I know you love that movie too.
It's funny that you bring up Clue because that's what I was just about to talk about. Yeah, so
it could have ended like this, or but I watched an old Siskel and Ebert where they kind of like ripped it apart, where a different ending to a different theater and said here is theater. Then the way they did it was they said here's theater A. With this ending, here's B is this ending and C is this ending. So you can go, oh, I'm going to go to see Clue, but it's A over here, and Clue, but C over here. And they thought, oh, great, three times the money made. But the problem was the endings were so short that it really didn't make much of a difference. And I think Gene Siskel's comment was the idea that like if the movie is the plot is like weak enough in terms of like who done it to like facilitate three different endings, then can you really sort of guess along at through the movie? Because if it's too watery and it's too open-ended, then it's like you can't really guess. The other thing was they didn't make a lot of money doing that, and there was only one good ending. So their whole thing was let's all release them at the same time, ABC, which they did for the VHS, which was smart, and that's how they probably, in retrospect, I'm sure Paramount wishes they would have just done that in the theater. Point is, with this, that's what I was thinking. I was like, oh, are they going to release one in one theater, one in the other? Is it going to have like a Clue scenario sort of thing? But I see what
again, that would be really cool if they were doing that. That's not what they're doing. But my big question is for you guys: how excited are you to see the movie Soul? We know that's being debuted on Christmas Day on Disney Plus, so something we can all kind of like rally around and look forward to, and anticipate in that regard. So first of all, how much are you looking forward to this film? And two, are you excited by the soundtracks as, just as much as I am? Or are you just kind of like, meh, whatever, soundtracks, it'll be in the movie and I'll watch it there. Jump down to the comment section. Comic? I keep doing that. Jump down to the comment section below and let me know your thoughts. Hey, everybody, thanks for watching. If you like this video, click like. If you really like this video, click subscribe. And if you really, really like this video, click share. Because that is exactly what Scrooge McDuck would want you to do. DuckTales, woo!